Welcome back to Chronicus Blasphemus. I'm Krista, and today we begin our 31 days of darkness with a god so ancient, so powerful, that his worship predates written Norse mythology itself. A deity deliberately pushed into obscurity as newer gods rose to prominence. His name is Ullr, and his domain is the silent, killing cold of winter's darkest days. The scarcity of information about Ullr in surviving Norse texts is not accidental. It's the result of systematic erasure. Yet the evidence of his former glory remains scattered across northern Europe. Place names bearing his mark, Ullrvi, Ullrrekur, Ullrshav, testify to widespread worship that once rivaled Odin himself. What little we know comes primarily from Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda, which describes Ullr as handsome, warlike, and an excellent archer. He's called ski god and bow god, but these simple titles mask a far more complex and terrifying deity. The name Ullr derives from *wulis, meaning glory, the same root as the Old English widder. But what kind of glory did this winter god command? The answer lies in what happens during the darkest days of winter, when food grows scarce and the weak perish in the merciless cold. Archaeological evidence suggests Ullr's worship may date back to the Bronze Age, making him one of the oldest known Norse deities. His prominence in place names across Scandinavia, particularly in Sweden and Norway, indicates he was once a major god whose worship was widespread before the Viking Age. Most intriguing is his relationship to Odin. The Prose Edda mentions that Ullr possesses all the characteristics of a great chieftain and states that he rules Asgard in Odin's absence. This suggests he may have been the original Allfather, a primordial winter deity who was later supplanted by the Odin cult as it spread northward from Germanic regions. The few artifacts associated with Ullr, particularly rings used for oath swearing, have been found in contexts suggesting ritual sacrifice. These weren't merely symbolic objects, but instruments of binding supernatural contracts. Unlike the sanitized winter gods of modern imagination, Ullr demanded sacrifice. Archaeological evidence suggests that winter was a time of ritual slaughter, not just of animals, but occasionally of humans. The frozen months required appeasement of the winter powers, and Ullr stood foremost among them. His bow wasn't merely for hunting game. In the harshest winters, it determined who would survive until spring. An arrow from Ullr meant selection, sometimes for death, sometimes for the honor of joining him in the eternal hunt. The connection between Ullr and skiing is particularly revealing. In ancient Scandinavia, skiing wasn't merely recreation. It was a matter of survival and warfare. Rock carvings dating back 4,000 years show ski-equipped hunters pursuing prey across winter landscapes. These weren't casual sportsmen, but deadly efficient predators who could move silently through snow-covered forests for days. Ullr embodied this lethal combination of patience, precision, and merciless efficiency. His worshippers didn't pray for gentle snowfall or mild temperatures. They prayed for the strength to survive his judgment, for the skill to move through his domain undetected, for the honor of being deemed worthy to endure winter's trial. Most telling is Ullr's connection to oaths. The Prose Edda states that it is good to call on him in single combat. Oaths sworn upon Ullr's ring were binding unto death. Those who broke such oaths didn't merely face social consequences. They were marked for Ullr's arrows, hunted through the snow-covered forests until the winter god claimed his due. The archaeological record supports this connection. Several gold rings inscribed with symbols associated with Ullr have been found in contexts suggesting ritual significance. These weren't mere jewelry, but instruments of binding supernatural contracts. The practice of swearing on rings was widespread in Norse culture, but oaths sworn specifically on Ullr's ring carried special weight. They were typically made during midwinter ceremonies when his power was at its peak. Breaking such an oath was believed to bring not just dishonor but supernatural retribution. The offender would be hunted by Ullr himself, an inescapable fate that would come silently through the winter forest. This connection to oaths reveals Ullr's deeper nature as a god of cosmic order. Winter itself is a kind of contract. Those who prepare properly and respect its power may survive. Those who don't, perish. Ullr's judgment, like winter's, was not cruel but absolutely fair and utterly inescapable. Today, Ullr survives primarily as a patron of winter sports, a sanitized, commercialized shadow of his former self. Ski resorts in America hold Ullr festivals without understanding the blood-soaked history of the deity they invoke so casually. They pray for snow without comprehending that the god they petition once demanded human sacrifice in exchange for winter survival. But the old powers never truly die. In the deepest winter nights, when snow silences the world and the cold seeps into bones, something ancient still moves through northern forests. Hunters sometimes speak of a presence felt rather than seen, of being watched by eyes older than civilization. Those who venture into winter's heart would do well to remember, Ullr's bow remains strung, his arrows sharp, his judgment swift. The forgotten god of winter's darkness still claims his due from those foolish enough to enter his domain unprepared or disrespectful. This systematic erasure of Ullr from prominent mythology represents a pattern we'll see throughout our 31 days of darkness, powerful deities deliberately obscured because their worship was deemed too dangerous, too primal, or too contradictory to evolving religious narratives. Tomorrow, we'll explore another deity deliberately obscured from history, the mountain huntress Skaði, whose bloodthirst rivaled even Ullr's. Until then, remember that understanding our forgotten gods helps us navigate our spiritual present. Keep blasphemous, folks.